everybody. Welcome back to your Circle of Influence podcast. I am your co-host, Dr. Monikah Ogando.
And I'm Amy Walker.
We are delighted that you are here with us today because we're going to be talking about the art of reading body language.
I've already started reading yours.
You have? What does mine
Yeah.
say?
Well, I'm interested in your shoulders right now. I mean, there's not a lot that I can see. I can see your, I can see your eyes.
Yes.
I can see your shoulders, like
Yes.
they're out of, you straightened them, but before they were like this.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I'm picking up on some vibes. We
This
can
is
get into
particularly important for folks that are in Zoom land. You know, during the pandemic and even afterwards, everybody's like, wait a minute, you mean I can conduct business from the comfort and privacy of my own home and I can just get on a Zoom? Okay. Listen, you don't need to know what I'm wearing below this shirt. But I am very interested in you reading the body language that I want you to read. So I would love to hear some of the things that you noticed and also how some of that isn't just about body language, but it's also like facial expressions and gestures and where our eyes go. All of that is part of body language, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So let's give this a little bit of a preface, like a little bit of a framework, and then we can dig into it.
Yes.
I don't tell people this very often because otherwise they always ask me to talk about this. And it's not the conversation I want to have all the time.
Okay.
But I am a certified body language expert and I used to be a body language trainer. And so I know some stuff, enough stuff to be dangerous.
A little something.
A little something. But here's the reason why it's important to have awareness around body language. It is a big part of the conversation. So when you look at the conversation and you look at understanding and trust and rapport, you have three things that go into that. You have the words that you say, you have the tone in which you say them, and then you have the body language.
Okay.
And body language is sometimes estimated as high as 57% of the comprehension is coming from body language. So here's how we know this to be true. If you have ever walked into a room and nobody has said anything, but you're like, uh-oh, what's going on here? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They haven't said a word.
Yes.
But the body language is speaking volumes. And you're like, I'm just going to go, like you feel it. That is all body language. And so what happens is we have our subconscious mind and it is thinking massive amounts of thoughts. And then it goes through our filtering system and certain amount of words come out. Now, depending on the strength of your filter, it might be more words than others, right? But all of those subconscious things that got filtered out, they come through still in your tone and your body language. So there's a lot of information that you can pick up on people. One of the things that I am a big believer in is that we shouldn't be using body language to tell a story. We should be using body language to ask questions. Because
that's a good distinction.
Yeah. So for example, like your shoulders being slumped like this, that was
because I'm leaning on this armrest and I just noticed it. You just made me conscious of it. I was like, oh, I do this a lot actually.
But you were the other way, actually. It was the other way when we first started. And you weren't leaning. They were just out of alignment.
Okay.
And so, the other side though. Yeah, like that one. Yeah. So left shoulder, well, it's your right shoulder was up, your left shoulder was down because you're opposite of me, right?
Yes.
So when we look at left and right, left can represent past, right can represent future. So that can be an indicator that something feels heavy about future, right? So instead of me making up a story and saying, oh, I know exactly what that means, I don't want to do that. That would be a place where we could start asking questions, right? And so we can get more information out. These are just, the body language are little cues that we can use to then be able to ask questions. So hands are really fascinating too. This is a gesture that you've done quite a few times today. Is this where it's like one hand is like a blanket for the other? Yeah. And then you can look at which hand is the blanket for the other, or like if people are using soothing gestures, or if they're rubbing their legs, or where they're looking with their eyes. There's so much information that we can glean. So I am happy to answer questions of what you're interested in, Monikah. What are you interested in?
I have notes.
Okay.
I have notes. So one of the things that I catch myself doing a lot, and it's unconscious, and I don't know why I do it, and I don't know how to stop it, is this constant grooming. Like with my hair, for example, that I'm pushing this to the side, or I'm putting it to the front, or I'm taking it out of my eye, or I'm pulling this behind my ear. It's like, what's with the hair? Why does she do that so much?
Let's talk about that. There's functionality and then there's subconscious stuff too.
Yes.
So a lot of times self-grooming is like a way to kind of check in and assert that on the outside, we're okay. Right. So like, but then there's also stuff where you're like, legitimately, my hair's in my face and I can't see. Mine won't even go and stay in front of my face. Like if it's like this,
Right.
like we got to put it out. Right.
Yes.
So there's the functional stuff. The wind blows, your hair's in your face. You got to move it.
Right.
But when your hair is fine and you're feeling the need to like remove and repurpose, then that's where the question that I ask myself is I'll ask myself, why do I feel like I need to check and make sure everything's in order? And then I'll ask myself sometimes the follow-up question, are there internal things that are not in order that on the external, I'm making sure that everything's in order because there's something inside that doesn't feel in order. And it just it can take you down the path to help you get to the heart of what it is. And then when you find it, if you want the behavior pattern to change, you just have to keep reminding yourself that that's taken care of.
Yes.
Like, oh, you know what? We don't need to do that anymore because we took care of this.
That's right.
And then it will help the habit to kind of go away.
Yeah. So one of the habits that I remember having when I was a little girl, and actually all the way up to college, I don't do it as much anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you watch my face more than I do. But I used to bite my lip a lot.
Oh, I 100% believe that.
Yeah. So I would like, I'm not just doing it just now, which is what brought it to mind. Kind of like chewing on it, kind of like messing around with it, moving it around, etc. And I know where that's from. There were some things that I wanted to say that I didn't feel like I had the space to say in my family of origin or in school or things like that. So it would show up, like you say, a lot of what we want to communicate that we don't communicate by behavior or word comes out in body language. It just kind of leaks out, right? And when I noticed that I was doing that a lot, I noticed where it was coming from, or I, put two and two together. And now it's not an unconscious constant thing. But when I do it, it's typically because like, oh, you're sitting on something that you want to say.
Yes. So lips are oftentimes what people are wanting to say. And when you're in business conversations, or you're working with clients, or you're in a sales call, if somebody tightens their lips in any way, shape, or form, like they bite them or anything where their lips are closing off or they're getting firm, that's a sign that they have things they want to say. And you should be quiet and you should be like, so, what do you have to say about that? And then they'll share what it is. Another thing is swallowing.
Oh.
So if people are swallowing, a lot of times what will happen is you'll watch the neck kind of acts like a thermometer for a lot of people, where you can see the color starts to change as the emotion rises. And then it will get right about to their vocal cords, and then they'll swallow. And it's like they swallowed back down the emotion. So if you see that starting to happen, you can ask people, so how do you feel about that? Are any thoughts or feelings coming up for you? And then they'll be more likely to share, and you can get to a better place of conversation. Okay, a couple of things that I think are useful gestures to be aware of is what I call the angry hand gestures, or the violent hand gestures. So we are human beings, and emotion and frustration and stress and overwhelm, all those things, they build up inside of us. And when you're not properly filtering those out, what will happen is you'll end up with angry hand gestures. So you'll do things like, you talk like this a lot, like, yeah, we're going to go out tonight. And it looks like you're strangling someone. And like or like you do a lot of chopping gestures or like punching gestures or things like that. But you want to watch those, or like really like claw hands. Like they look, there's a lot of tension.
A lot with my nephews.
Yeah. So you just want to be aware that your hands are showing like I've got an excess of some angry emotions that are coming out.
Energy. Yeah.
But the way that you present, the way that you look is to other people, they get this intensity vibe from you that maybe you're not wanting to put out, but it's coming through in your hands.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not anger. Sometimes it is passion or, kind of like wanting to move. I just did this with my hands. That was super subconscious because like
But no,
now
but
I
look at
want to
your
move the
fingers.
thing along.
Look at your fingers. They're not angry fingers. They're not
Yes.
like, right?
Yes.
So you can move your hands. You can absolutely move your hands. It's just, I pay attention to when my hands are like, okay, guys, we're going to pick up the room right now. And I'm like,
You're choking people.
okay, guys, let's pick up the room
Yes.
right now, because I don't want to be sending unconsciously messages that
Yes.
I'm frustrated or I'm
Yes.
angry, you know?
Yes. Right. Yes. I think also we have to keep in mind cultural differences. And I'm always going to be an advocate and a presence for and a stand for intersectionality. We just had a moment with the Dalai Lama, for example, who said something. He had an audience with a young boy and they kissed on the lips. And then the Dalai Lama said something to the effect of like, suck my tongue or something like that. To the Western world, that sounds like pedophilia in open air.
Right.
And in Tibetan culture, that's actually a gesture of affection from an elder to a young child. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to keep in mind, well, one, those cultural nuances, but also number two is how does the speaker or the one communicating intend to launch it? And how does the receiver, how does it land for them?
Yeah.
Because if there's no harm on the receiver end, like your interpretation is your interpretation and you get to grapple with that. But I don't get to impute that harm on somebody when that's not what they have been interpreting or that's
Mm-hmm.
not how it landed for them, right? For example, when I was little, I had a for me was a pivotal moment when I was in an adult conversation with my parents and their friends. They had like a dinner at home. They invited some people over and they had some dinner and they were talking. And I caught my parents in a lie. And I said, no, that's not what you said, and blah, blah, blah. And I got in trouble and I got sent to my room,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then later on, my mom talked to me about it, etc. But how it landed wasn't, I'm wrong, I'm bad, my parents don't love me anymore. That's not how it landed. How it landed was, oh, they lie just like I do. These
Yeah.
people are trying to figure it out just like I do. Okay. So it kind of humanized my parents a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't like God anymore, as it were. But also that wasn't terrifying. Because for some people,
Right.
when they find out their parents are not perfect, it ruins their life. For me, it was very
Yes.
liberating. It was like, okay, I can breathe easy. I don't need to
Yeah.
be perfect all the time. I could just relax. And also, I don't think I had the words for it at the time because I was still a child, but it was almost like, give them space. They're trying to figure it
Mm-hmm.
out too. And so that has informed the way that I treat people that I don't get super duper like, fangirly, except for Prince. Prince is the only um with anybody because everybody's just human, right? And
Yeah.
so that's part of understanding body language also, to me at least, that you're kind of straddling cultures and meaning and interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, you're not trying to narrate a story, you're trying to use it as data to ask more questions.
Yeah, and there are definitely things that are different from culture to culture. Like personal space is very different from culture to culture.
Mm-hmm.
Some have much smaller personal space and some have bigger, but that's
Yes.
also a difference between people. Like
Yes.
one of the things that you can pay attention to when you're walking up to somebody is that they will make a physical movement when you hit the outer edge of their personal space bubble. It'll be like their eyebrows will go up or they'll like tense or something, but they will make a movement when you hit their personal space bubble. And like if you stop there and then like reach your hand out or something, that's a way to bridge that.
Yeah.
But that's different depending on different cultures. The amount of like facial expressions differs depending on the culture. Some cultures are more stoic, some are more expressive,
Yes.
some use their hands more. But there are some generals. So in general, the left side usually is connected more towards past, logic, facts, history. The right side is usually connected more towards future, creativity, vision. You've got, the different areas of your body kind of tend to show different things. Like your legs have to do with your foundation, your feet have to do with your direction, your shoulders tend to have to do with like the burdens that you have in life. Your face has so much going on. When people look, to the side, they're
Yeah.
usually looking towards their ears, and it's usually a good indicator that they're hearing the voice of somebody else inside of their mind. Like maybe it's their mom's voice or
Huh.
maybe it's their husband. And so when they look to the side, a lot of times there's somebody else inside their mind. When they look
Fascinating.
down, they're tending that's emotion. They're looking into their emotion.
Oh, it's like
When
they're looking into their heart a little bit, huh?
yeah, looking into their soul. When they look
Oh,
up, it's like, yeah, looking up is like
that's
looking
gorgeous.
towards inspiration,
Yeah, that
looking
makes
towards a higher
sense.
power
Like
and
when you say,
source.
I wouldn't have thought about it, but when you say it, it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So as you're watching and talking to people, you can kind of track like where are they at in their head.
right.
If they're like up and to the left, then that's like recall and data,
Mhm.
facts,
Mhm.
information, numbers, past experiences, history. If they're up and to the right, this is vision, this is creativity, this is where we're going, what does the future look like? And so sometimes when you're in a sales
Mm.
conversation, if you're talking to somebody and it's like, so are you ready to move forward? And they go up and to the left, they're still looking at past data details. They can't quite see the vision of where you're
The
going yet. And
possibility,
so
right?
they're not quite there. So there's just so much good information. And I do not ever, well, I can't say never. I have caught my kids sometimes in a couple of lies from body language. I'm like, well,
Uh-huh.
hold on, let's talk about
Why?
this
Because
some
they were
more.
looking to the right? They were being creative?
No, no, not necessarily. It's more like when things don't align, right?
Yes.
Like when what they say doesn't align with what their body is saying, then
Ah,
there's more to the conversation to be had. But I usually do not approach it from the standpoint of like, let me figure out who's lying. I more
mm,
approach it from the standpoint of let me understand people better.
yeah.
How can I
Right.
better understand
Yeah.
where you're coming from so that I can support you in ways that maybe you don't know that you need to ask for,
That has
right?
happened so many times. Pause a second. Let's just have a friend conversation. That has happened so many times between you and me, Amy, that I'll show up because I think both of us are have this like high performance thing. Like, let's just get the job done. Let's just
Yeah, we said
show
we
up.
were going to be there.
Yeah, right. Or, I just have to be on for 30 minutes, or I just have to be on for an hour, and then I can just go back to being a ball of wax, right? And you won't let me get away with it. You're like, okay, what's going on? And I'm like, how does she know? She's like, she's looking at shoulders, she's looking at eye direction, she's looking at a whole bunch of stuff. And it's like, you can't hide it.
And now you know how I
Now I
know.
know, right?
Well, the thing is, there was a period of time, and this is probably why I don't promote that I know as much about body language as I do, because there was a point of time where I could never turn it off. And I was always
Hmm.
like tracking all these movements on people.
Uh-huh, right.
And now I don't enjoy that. So for me, what I like to do is use it as an amplification of my intuition. That's how I utilize body language. It just amplifies the natural intuition that I already have, which is I pick up on vibes from people.
Yeah.
And whether you know what's going on in body language or not, you pick up on vibes from people. And if you will
Of course.
listen to that intuition and just pay closer attention to people, you will be able to connect on a better, more deep way.
Hmm.
There's a lot that you can study about this, and it's fascinating. It really is, which is why
Hmm.
I got certified in the first place. So if you're interested, go look up some gurus, go read some more books, go watch some trainings. There's a lot of good information out there. But
Yes.
at the heart of it, I hope you'll do it with the intention of understanding and supporting people better.
Yeah, human nature. Absolutely. The more educated and well versed that we are in the human condition, the better people we can be and the better support we can be to the people we love.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you told me some of your body language quirks. Do you want to hear some of mine?
Yes.
I hold my head too far forward, like constantly. Like my posture, my head is always more forward than it should be. It should always be like back aligned with the spine. It's always this way.
Can I just tell you that I noticed that and I thought that you were doing it for the same reason that I do, which is to avoid the double chin?
No, it's because if you like, my mind is always going and it's
Right.
always ahead
It's
of the
true.
rest of my
It's
body.
completely true. Yes. That totally makes sense for who you are. Yes.
My
Okay, what else?
chiropractor is always like, why is your posture like that? I'm like,
Yes.
dude,
Yeah, a
there's
mile a minute. A mile a minute.
too
Yes.
many thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another one that I pay attention to, which is directly correlated to my stress level, is when I get T-Rex arms, where like my arms are just up against my body and I'm starting to use my hand gestures right here. What's happening there is it's like there's a lot of stress and pressure going on and I'm holding myself together. And
Ah.
so when
Mhm.
I catch myself doing that, what I do is I let my arms go and I just let myself breathe it out. So instead of holding it all in and holding myself together, it's like, no, let me just like get rid of it. let's breathe through it. Let's stretch through it. Let's reframe thinking. And
Yes.
it is interesting how when you catch yourself doing a gesture, even just letting it go with intention, like your hands are like this and you're like, oh, let's just let it go. Like you'll feel the energy and the emotion shift.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's fascinating. But can I tell you something that I've noticed about your body language?
Yeah.
There's there's an Amy signature. This is how I know that you're processing information and I'm about to tell somebody off. Not off like a bad thing, but just like give them some important information. You know, it's like she's about to say something meaningful. Brace yourself, you know. When you're looking at yes, you're now I know why you do it. Yes, your neck is forward this way and your breathing gets shorter, like you're about to like say something, right?
Yeah.
I've noticed that. And it's like, she's about to say something. She's about to say something. And I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but I know it's going to be important.
It's coming. It's coming. You can't hold it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We all have these little things that we do. And it is really fascinating, honestly, to just figure out what it is, look into it.
Yeah. It is such an amazing difference in how we approach each other when we approach each other from the place of discovery and curiosity versus of wanting to create a story, because that's too adjacent to judgment and opinion and position, more so than just the openness of curiosity and exploration.
Yeah. And people are, for the most part, pretty delightful. So when you keep yourself open and curious, you will learn more about people and you will also become a more approachable person.
That's true.
Where you find that people are attracted to you and they want to be in your space more because you offer empathy and understanding and curiosity. Like that's fun. If you're looking at your world and thinking, I got to figure out all the people around me, I would start first with saying, I got to figure out what I'm feeling, what I'm saying, what's going on in my subconscious that I'm projecting out to other people. Start there first. And then you'll start to see things in other people that will be just interesting and exciting. And it's fun.
Thank you, my friend, for giving us a body language lesson. First of many, I'm sure, darling. First of many.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Then I start getting asked to speak at places to train on body language. And I'm like, nope. But I'll tell you. Go to YouTube
University for that. I'm retired.
I'll tell you who would be great, but that's not what I want to do.
It's okay to be multi-talented. It's okay.
Yes, absolutely. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being here with us today for this episode of Your Circle of Influence. We want to hear from you. Leave us a comment, subscribe to the show, and let's stay connected. Let's keep the conversation going. I will offer this. If you do have any specific questions about a body language gesture, you're welcome to put them in, and I will give you some ideas of questions you can ask to try to get to the heart of what that's meaning.
Thank you, everybody, for being with us. You can still reach us. Number one, we always love it when you leave a message, when you leave a review, when you let us know what you think of the podcast. If you want to reach us directly, you can always find us on Instagram. Amy is at Amy Walker Coach, and I am at Monikah Ogando.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.